Stephen, good morning to you.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Are you a coffee drinker?
Oh, I am free before midday, and then if I'm on the road, maybe one about 5 o'clock, and that's me done for the day then.
I bet you've got a fancy machine at home, do you?
Of course I do.
You have to have a fancy machine. The difference in
Good coffee.
The Ireland of the 80s, when we were winning Triple Crowns and all that, and the coffee of now, like Dublin is probably as good a place to get coffee, I'd say, as anywhere in the world, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. Hunty's travelled the world more than we have, I'd say.
Is it Hunty?
Ireland, Italy is obviously very good. Macedonia was good, I think, if I'm right in saying. Montenegro was good. There you go.
Right, excellent.
The viewers were good in Montenegro as well, may I add.
Right.
Wow. We can only...
Go on.
Yeah, only allude to what you're talking about
Ireland
there.
International, sorry. We were with Ireland. We always used to go for a coffee if we could have a stroll in a quiet place and take in the views.
Right, old historic Montenegro. Must check it out. Must stick it on the list of places to go. Stephen, there's a good bit of crack in the papers this morning where Keith Andrews did a proper press conference before an Ireland match for the first time really in a long time. And he was asked about Roy Keane calling him a bullshitter. And in fairness to Keith Andrews, he just played it with a straight bat and went, that had no impact on me at all. After my family, this is the only thing that I care about and that I'm most passionate about. When you're in camp and someone says stuff about you, how easy is it actually not to get a little bit sidetracked by it? So what would it have been like when Roy did that interview, I think it was with the Sunday Independent a couple of years ago, and called Keith Andrews a bullshitter? Would the team have talked about it? Would people have been surprised that it came up? Would it have rippled at all?
I think, listen, there would have been a good giggle last night around the table, and once it gets out this morning, the players will be obviously on Keith's back, probably giving him a bit of stick. But listen, anyone that knows Keith Andrews, he's fairly stubborn himself, so he'll have a job to do. Obviously he'll be doing, and he'll get on with it.
He was cutting his teeth in media. He did a show here with us, and he was obviously on Sky all the time as well, and was doing really well, and had become an excellent co-commentator. And he killed it. He knocked it all on the head. He could have easily kept going with Sky doing championship and co-com on the Premier League, but he decided he was going to give this his full go, which is, I think, pretty impressive. And obviously we know Keith a little bit, not very well, but a little bit from his time with us, and always found him to be great to deal with. The furthest thing from a bullshitter you would ever actually find, someone who was thoughtful about what they wanted and who was very determined to kind of keep learning and acquiring new skills. What's your experience of him?
Yeah, 100% that. Keith is focused on whatever he does. When he done media, he would obviously do a lot of good prep for his work he was doing. He was well educated when it comes to getting in front of the camera and having the stats ready and having everything ready in his favour. And again, the key word, he's knocked the media on the head to do this, which will tell you all about it. He was completely focused on Ireland, completely focused on improving himself as a coach. He's got lots to learn. He's I think over the past couple of years probably been approached for other jobs as well and turned them down on the basis of he's committed to Ireland. So he's in a really good place. They deservedly got a new contract for themselves. Roy is now media in the UK. He's taken over. He's a sensation to a certain degree. So maybe Roy should stick to that as well and be what he is. And he's doing a good job of that too in the media. So
this is the thing, though, that this is why people, I guess, like, love the Daily Mail app or whatever. It's just this stuff sells. Whereas, like, as you say, Keith does his research. He's an erudite kind of judge of the game. Goes in. He's a very good co-commentator. As Sarah says, he's a very good analyst. People want to listen to the sound bites of Roy Keane, who, to my mind, and I think this is what Keith was bringing up at the time, like, which I couldn't get over. How could Roy Keane preside over an Irish team who were so anathema to the way that Roy Keane himself played? And I think he was right to be called out on that at the time, because Roy Keane was presided over a regime where our midfielders ran away from the ball.
Yeah, you're even losing me now. But yes, in terms of Roy as a player, 100% one of the best players for Ireland ever. As a coach, he's been successful too, in fairness to Roy. He's had some good times at Sunderland, some good moments. But right now, Roy is going one way, and that is to be a pundit for the rest of his life. He's very good at it and controls everything over here. He was different to what they had, so he's come along at the right time, Roy, to be a success in the media, and good luck to him.
I don't know. Is he very good at it though? Like he's obviously
I think he
he's
is.
box office. What's he offering though? Apart from he's got to work hard.
Want entertainment, Johnny.
They want entertainment, but eventually that runs out.
It doesn't though. It turns out it doesn't run out. People will always want entertainment, and you can get the Monday Night Football stuff.
Yeah. Guys, do you actually think Roy Keane is like that offset? He's not. Like
exactly.
He's a completely different character. So there's other words for that. He's an actor. Roy is an actor. He's done a very good job at it the last couple of years, and he knew what was needed to be a success at the time. So that probably makes him a clever guy as well.
You've nailed it there, because like he's such a compelling guy, and the more the more you're in the role he's in, the more you're kind of you change because of the reaction to the role you're in, and the more you play up to that act, even though it's not actually who you are. Because Roy Keane has so many qualities as well, but he does play up to it.
Okay, fair enough. So there's definitely an element of it, but we did see the bit where the fans outside were looking for photographs. He wasn't acting then, and that was the same kind of response he was having to. Why are you picking Fred? Like, some of it is definitely he's self-aware, I would argue, but some of it I think is genuine kind of bamboozlement at what's going on. I think he was completely wrong about Keith Andrews.
Where does the bullshitter thing come from? Like, because
Keith Andrews had been given out.
How does that make him a bullshitter? Like?
Well, because I think one of the things that made Keane is the fact that he is so competitive, and if you're on the outside pissing in, well then you're the enemy, and for that little period of time he was the enemy. I mean, you couldn't say he is.
Well, why did he call him a bullshitter? Excuse me, I can't remember. Why was he? What was the reason why he had a go at Keith?
Well, we didn't get a follow-up question in the interview to pinpoint specifically, but Keith, I think, was making the point that Johnny was making, that Ireland's midfield was underperforming, and that the players didn't seem to be acquiring new skills when Roy was part of the backroom team. That, if I'm right in the terms of the time, we tried to look up some of the stuff that Keith would have been talking about at the time, and it was that Ireland's midfield seemed to be underperforming in the Martin O'Neill era, and obviously Roy took his time to deliver his riposte, which was a couple of years later.
Hunty, as well, we've had there's so much, Robbie Keane is brought up time again. We've never replaced Robbie Keane, but like Roy Keane was a generational talent, like literally ran games. He embodied everything about midfield play, and as a consequence, it's hard to see now that our midfielders, Josh Cullen hailed as the saviour or whatever by Dunphy today, that Roy Keane couldn't get anything out of our midfielders is notable for me.
Yeah, I think Roy has a way of coaching, managing that it's along the lines you can see it. It's Brian Clough, it's Sir Alex Ferguson's Martin O'Neill. I don't think they were all ever fantastic coaches. They were good managers, great managers, and yes, they might have been better than what I think they are, but I don't think they were the modern version of a Brendan Rodgers, who's renowned for being a coach, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, somebody thought it was a good idea to put Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane together. That's what I couldn't. So Roy Keane is not a coach. Martin O'Neill is not a coach. But they were a dream team.
They had other coaches though.
They did, but like Gubby and whatever. And
listen, I don't think they're no fools either. But they're not a modern day coach. They're clearly, both of them are very good thinkers of the game. Very good in terms of trying to get in people's heads and motivate people. I think that was clear to see. The modern day coaches now, I don't know how good a manager at the moment is a coach, but I do know Keith Andrews is a very good coach. I had him for a couple of weeks when I was still playing at MK Dons, and he surprised me how good he was for such an early coach and how demanding he was of the player. So I do know he can coach, Keith, to be fair to him, and I think he's done the right decision in what he's decided to do, and is very dedicated to it. Listen, I'll have conversations with Keith and the manager about players I think should be being picked for Ireland, and we'll get heated, we'll get constructive with it, and then we'll forget about it and move on.
Are they all your players that you want picked? Is that how that works?
Yeah. Sure. I have.
We talk about it for 20 minutes and agree you were right.
Well, hopefully in a year's time, when them players develop, they'll be in, and then it's the right time, in their opinion, to be in. And I'll never tell a manager that they should be playing. I'll always give a constructive view on why I think they should be in the squad, and then you can make your own decision based on the training. So a manager is a manager. I'm a football agent, so I'm not a manager. I don't pick players. I always, of course, like anyone, would be constructive with my players. But I do know, going back to Keith, he is actually a very good coach and is keen to learn, keen to engage with other coaches as well in the UK to learn off them. So it's a good thing.
Talk to us a little bit about that generation of young players who are coming through at the moment, because we're very excited by the quality of kids who are at between kind of 16 and 19 in the Ireland setup at the moment, and even just the way Chidozie Ogbene has managed to break through. Like, he's still playing League One football. The hope would be that he's playing Championship football next year, and that he gets an opportunity week in, week out against a slightly higher calibre of opposition to do what he's doing at the moment for Ireland. So what's your assessment of where we are with regards to the talent pool?
Yeah, the talent pool, I watched it in the 19s last week. They were actually very unlucky not to get something out of the game against England. The referee bottled it. I do think, again, you go back to 2 years ago, Joe, when we're talking about the Triparts, Adam Idas, the Conleys of the world. There's going to be bumps in the road for them players. The Jason Knights of these days are almost like a throwback to an old-fashioned player to a certain degree with a good skill set. So there's going to be bumps in the road for these players along the way. It's important that we don't hype them up too much. Let them focus on the football. Like Festi at Derby can be, I said to someone last week, he can be unplayable some days and can be outrageously good. But then on some other days, you wouldn't pick him on the bench. He can be that bad. So I've seen a lot of them over the last couple of years. So they do need time, these boys. They do need guidance, and I think they're going in the right direction. I'm really pleased in terms of Jason Knight's got a lot of games under his belt. Ogbene, to a certain degree, probably needs to go play higher. He's had a year of it before in a struggling team. If you get him in a team, you can see he's very explosive, very random in his play, but that makes him dangerous. So I am excited for the young boys coming through now, yes, for sure.
What do you think Festi's best position is?
Just let him loose and let him play on the right wing. Keep it simple for him and say, right, listen, just get it and run, because he is so direct. He is very, very explosive, but he's got to find a brain cell along the way as well, and realise that the level he's playing at, he has to keep the ball sometimes in certain areas, and if he does that, then he'll get punished going the other way against better teams.
Has he not improved in that, Hunty,
though? He's still got a long way to go, in my opinion, in terms of controlling his positional, his sense of danger where he sees danger. But having said that, his speed is so quick. He recovers with his speed. He relies on his pace to get him out of trouble to a certain degree. And listen, he'll have a year or two development. But if you're bringing on somebody within the Irish setup to have an impact, then definitely Festi could be one for sure.
And just the number of Irish players who are looking to Europe, you know, we see with Josh Cullen at Anderlecht how well that's worked for him in terms of his international career, and hopefully from a club perspective as well into the future. For Festi heading to Italy, is that something that you would recommend? Is that something that as an agent you've started to look at for your players, or does it really depend on the individual character and whether or not he's going to be able to make it when he goes somewhere like Italy?
I think every character is different. You clearly want to have an English-speaking, Irish-speaking language going over there if you can with the club. Also, there's a case for, is he going to Udinese, I think it is, to come back to Watford? They're both the same clubs. Have they bought him with the idea of bringing him back to Watford in a certain time? So they'll know the plan, what it is for him over there. Everyone's different. There's obviously a few boys going to Italy, which the language will be difficult for them to speak, which makes it harder. But at the same time, the education of football will be amazing, and the detail they'll learn in a year or two over there will be different to what they'd learn in England, or Ireland for that matter. So it'll be good. Only time will tell. And yes, it is a bit of a gamble, but it's a bit of a gamble going to England as well. So looking forward to seeing the results over the next couple of years.
Is there anybody else coming through at this stage who you think, yeah, I'd love to see them in the team at the moment?
Listen, I'm not going to name names. I do think the current proper players needed a couple of years to bed into it. I think, in fairness to Tripart, he's had a resurgence this year in terms of playing games. He's found himself a little home in MK Dons, who are doing very well. He's played for the middle for most of it, and the manager there has good belief in him. So I think he's in the right place now. If MK Dons could get promoted, then I'm sure you'd have Parrott back next year to play in the Championship. So it's exciting times. I think the manager deserves good credit for he did stick to his principles. Keith is right, it's very easy to change up, but if you look at our second goal on Saturday, that actually come from a direct piece of play and Matt Doherty being on the front foot for the second ball. So I do think the right mix of football, sometimes short, most of the time short, and then if we need to go long a little bit, then we can do. So I think we're in a good place. Just waiting that year, you know what I mean, to try and get some competitive games. It's the problem to motivate the players. Won't be an issue, but the fans were there Saturday. I was there myself. It was a good atmosphere, full house nearly, and it was good to be there.
Just on Paris, Hunty, I'd say maybe his highest point as an Irish kind of international in terms of underage was when they as today when they're away to Sweden in the 21s. His performances for Ireland against Sweden under Kenny in both Tala and Sweden were sensational. And I think Kenny said at half time in the Tala game Ireland were losing, and another player relayed that Kenny basically said, Troy, we just need you here. We need you to do it. And he just turned it on, and they won. I think they won 4-1 from him, 1-0 down. He got an unbelievable. I think he got 2 goals in Sweden. One of them was just unbelievable quality. How good could he be? Or are we worried about? Well, is there a limit to what Troy can do here? Does he lack something that means that he hasn't maybe made... it's not that long ago people were constantly asking Mourinho in press conferences, why isn't he playing?
No, I think with Troy, his physical attributes from under 15, 16 were very much... He was ahead of the game, and he had a good stride on him. He was very strong. He's very well able to carry the ball, and it was clear he was going past people for fun. But as you get older and you get into the first team, then players become obviously better, to become aware of his skill set quite easily. They're able to read it. So I think Troy's had to learn the game a little bit over the last year and a half. Some very much bad at times, but maybe a good thing for his long-term career, that he hasn't had the success that he thought he'd have. Not so much him, to be fair, comparing him, but what other people thought he would have early on. He needed to learn the game. He needed to play as a centre forward. He can clearly play left, right, number 10. Possibly even number 8 as he gets older. I think he can make them long bust and run. So I think we're in a good place with him, and hopefully it continues.
Same with of Adamida as well, like that. And that is the pitfalls for a lot of young players.
Yeah, well, the setback might not be the worst thing for either of them. They'll come back stronger for it.
It's just
Stephen, good stuff. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Guys, I gotta go. Yeah.
Thanks a million. School run, no hassles. Thanks.
I guess it's just physically that, you can be ahead of players, your peers at that age, and they catch up and then they actually pass you out in terms of going to senior football, which I haven't seen that much Troy Parrott this season. But he does have that kind of real quality around the box. If I think tonight could be big for him, just reading in between the lines from Andrew's press conference, there's a lot of Troy Parrott.
I don't think he's going to start.
I think he's going to play a reasonable role anyway.
45 minutes.
Yeah, or half an hour, something like that. I think they're going to give him a reasonable chance because, Andrew's, just the way he spoke about all the difference in he's doing so well in training. And, I don't know if you read Anthony into him appearing in press conferences, but I definitely read into the way Andrew spoke about him. We need to also see players like Troy play tonight because we're playing, with all due respect to Lithuania, regardless of what the result is, we need to see other players.
We do need to see other players, but if you are the management team, this is one of those rare occasions where actually the victory and the momentum from the victory and that is actually important.
It is, but you've got to manage that as well as bring in other players. Regardless of if you play 2 different teams tonight, 2 different halves, we should still be beating Lithuania.
Still be beaten is not something that really surely at this point in our lives we're like, okay,
1 defeat in 11, scoring 10 goals in 5 or whatever it is.
Luxembourg beat us at home.
But they didn't beat us at home because there was nobody there. That's not home. It's not.
It was.
Well, stats showed that it became irrelevant where you were playing. But there's nobody at the game. It's all about that raucous Lansdowne atmosphere and not drinking pints.
Yeah.